Hi, and welcome to today's discussion. What I will be talking about is tips to prioritize tasks and manage time effectively within your projects. Briefly, we'll cover the defining goals, identifying and prioritizing tasks, creating a task schedule, resource management, very briefly, risk management, monitoring, and making sure you're adjusting as you go along, your comms, and as always, continuous improvement. So that without delay, let's crack on. Okay, firstly, it's really important that you understand and prioritize your tasks within your project. Really helps to really determine what you're doing. But one of the first things I would say you need to do is define the project goals and objectives. Now, the best way of doing that is really defining a scope, understanding what the scopes are, and then working through that, saying what are we trying to deliver. And that's really key to then building on to the next stage, which is identifying and prioritizing tasks. Now, one thing you've got to understand is without a list of tasks, you don't really know what's happening and what order things are going to be done in. Now, this is a real key part, and I would say you spend a lot of time understanding and identifying these tasks so to help you with your project. And there's loads of techniques you can do, but I personally just go out there, speak to your team, get the right people engaged, understand who are going to give you the right information. Spend a bit of time understanding the scope as well, because then that will help you ask the right questions, and that's really key once you've identified the tasks. However, the next stage is once you've identified and prioritized the tasks, you need to put them in some sort of schedule. Having a plan without a schedule, not really understanding what's happening when, whether that's in the critical path method or Scrum, whatever it may be, kind of really leaves things open to interpretation. Do what you want when you want, not necessarily always the right way of doing it. But get that task schedule in, understand which priorities go there, and traditionally Gantt chart is used a lot, but simple Excel, you can use your Kanban boards, whatever it may be. Use those techniques to put your plan in place. Next is really your resource management. Really understand who needs to do the job, when, how, etc., and do they have the right skills. Really ask the question: have we got the right resource, etc. Create a resource matrix. Create a RACI. Responsible, accountable, informative, consult. A matrix that will help you understand who these people are, what the role they play within the business, and what who do you really need to engage with at what stage will really help. But again, resource management is throughout the project, not just at the beginning. You've got to do it throughout the whole project life cycle. And that goes for most things through that I'm going to cover today. Next is really risk management. The importance is you've got to manage your risk throughout the project. I've covered this on a separate discussion, and I've covered it in quite some detail. But again, importance of risk is really to make sure that you keep your project uh, on track and in line with what you're doing. Helps you identify risks early, prevent, you can mitigate, manage those risks, and make sure that your project keeps going in the right direction. Next is really monitoring and adjusting. You've got to keep monitoring your project. Things aren't going to go to plan. You're going to have to move. You're going to have to be, agile about how you do stuff. You're going to have to be reasonable about changing your plan as long as it gets you to where you need to. And that's the key thing. So there's plenty of techniques out there that you can do. But again, use your common sense. Monitor your project, understand where you're doing. If you do the early stages of looking at your scope, understanding your tasks, you can keep monitoring that on a regular basis, which will then give you, oh, actually missed that, or I've got to worry about this risk, and record all those things. So keep monitoring and adjusting your plan to meet the requirement. Next is really effective communication. If you can't talk to your stakeholders or the people around you, it's going to be a real challenge being a project manager. Really talk to the people. Make sure you get the message across in your planning meetings, etc. Make sure you control the meetings. I like to use the phrase ELMO, which stands for enough, let's move on. It's a good term to stop people from actually, waffling on and digressing. And harsh as it may sound, you've got to keep your project team on track and not digressing. And that's one of the challenges you'll find. But again, effective communication at all levels through all of these activities is really key. Next is continuous improvement. Really make sure that you're always looking at your project. How can we do things better? You're learning from mistakes and successes as well, not just mistakes. Well, we did that really well. Let's spread the word. Let's start doing that a bit more. We did something really bad. Let's learn from that. Let's do it better. But keep up. Keep understanding the project. Keep looking at it. Keep understanding it, and then invest some time in yourself. Do some training. Do some learning. If you're working in a technical environment, try to learn a little bit about the technical, just to give you a base understanding, which makes it easier for you to communicate and understand your team colleagues. And that's the worst thing you can have, is your team colleagues have little faith in you and don't understand you. So you've got to make sure you have that personal development as well. So in conclusion, just summary, some of the high levels, define your project goals and objectives. Identify your and prioritize your tasks. Create a task schedule. Make sure you've got resource management in place there. Your risk management, monitoring and adjust. Keep monitoring and adjusting your plan to suit requirements. Keep the communication high. Talk to the people, get things done, and finally, make sure you're continuously looking for things, doing things better. How can I do things better? Continuously improving. And that comes with experience. But again, there's people who have experience who can give you tips. Really, really go out there and make sure you are always trying to better yourself, and that's where you will be successful in project management. I hope that was helpful, and thank you for listening today.